Michael opened the door and saw his young wife in her lover's arms. A growl escaped from his throat, more terrible than the roar of a beast, and his fists clenched so that his knuckles turned white. One more minute, and he will drag this muscular, pumped-up man from the marital bed and beat him, beat him, beat him. And his wife will kneel, sobbing, crawling at his feet, begging for forgiveness. You slut, you slutty homeless whore, you! Michael shot at her, bringing his face over the beautiful face of the traitor. Looking out of the window, Michael saw white, fluffy cotton wool clothes floating over the airplane. He was returning from another business trip. Michael often flew on business for his publishing company, believing that he and no one else could best solve any business-related issues. But each time he left his young wife at home, it became increasingly difficult for him to concentrate on work tasks. Michael was jealous, and his violent imagination treacherously drew the most racist scenes, the main character of which was Julia. And now he was coming home, wondering what she was doing. Michael deliberately did not warn his wife about the time of return. He's over 50 years old, and Julia has only turned 25. She's young and so damn seductive. Michael's whole body began to tremble when he remembered how good his wife was in bed. When he was near her, he wanted to touch her, to hold her against him, to make sure that Julia was not a marriage. He still could not believe this young, graceful, as a doe beauty agreed to become his wife. A year ago, Michael was widowed. His wife and little daughter were in a car accident. The wife died on the spot, and the daughter was saved by the fact that she was buckled in a child's car seat by Al Rose. But the condition of the 5-year-old daughter was severe. Michael made every effort to keep her alive. He found the best doctors and then rehabilitations. The girl returned to everyday life, but for a year has not said a single word. This is a great stress, the doctor said. Some time will pass and she will speak again. The main thing now it is to surround her with care and attention. But Michael had a lot of work to do. He tried to fill the gaps in his father's care with expensive toys, beautiful dresses, and babysitters. But Kelly remained silent. Michael worried and hoped that his daughter will again run around the house and laughed merrily as he had before. If someone had told him then that in just a year, widowed Michael would marry again, and it will be a young beautiful girl, he will have categorically said, "No, that can't be. No wife on earth is as faithful and caring as my dead Megan, and I will love her all my life." But suddenly, Julia appeared in a widower's life. The reception for the opening of the new branch of the publishing house was magnificent. Beautiful women in evening gowns, men in tuxedos, servers with trays, and quiet music created an appropriate atmosphere that gave the evening a particular gloss. Michael walked around the banquet hall, talking to one guest or another. Suddenly, his gaze fell on a spectacular long-legged girl in a red dress with style hair. The outfit fit her chiseled figure perfectly. But most of all, Michael was struck by the girl's eyes. Deep, brown, alluring. "Do you miss her?" he asked, approaching the stranger. "No, I'm very interested here," Julia replied, smiling, making Michael's heart beat faster. He took 2 glasses of champagne from the waiter's tray, one of which he handed to the girl. 10 minutes of conversation with Julia was enough for Michael to realize that she was beautiful, intelligent, well-maintained in society, and could support a conversation on any topic. Not hoping she would agree to meet him again, he suggested having dinner together. Julia handed him her card. "Call me. I'll be happy to talk to you again," she said. 2 days later, they had dinner at a cozy restaurant on the shore of the lake. Michael had booked a table with a panoramic view in advance. He wanted Julia to enjoy the evening. He waited impatiently, and when she appeared, he felt he was losing his head. Despite her youth, Julia was intelligent, educated and very well-mannered. She quickly talked about business, politics, and charity. Michael listened to her as a young student listened to a professor at a university lecture. Julia, let me ask you an indiscreet question. Michael wanted to get an answer to it very much, so he waited for a convenient moment. Why is such a beautiful and intelligent girl not married? I will gladly devote my life to a worthy man like you, but I'm much older. Doesn't that make you uncomfortable? Not at all, Michael. Age is arithmetic, and I'm not good at it. She laughed, and Michael thought she felt young and energetic and in love next to Julia. Their relationship developed rapidly. After a few dates, Michael was ready to propose to Julia, but thoughts of Kelly stopped him. After a car accident in which her mother died in front of her eyes, she was in a severe psychological state and did not speak at all. Michael did not know how his daughter would react if he brought Julia into the house, whether she would not get worse, so he was content with meetings in restaurants and walk in a park with his beloved. But one day, Julia asked him, "Will you invite me to your house? For example, can we have a glass of wine and continue our warm evening?" Her smile was so alluring that Michael dismissed all doubts. "Of course. I only have my daughter at home. I know everything. I don't need to explain." Julia interrupted him. "You have nothing to worry about. I know how to get along with children. But Kelly is an unusual child." Michael began to explain, trying to find the right words. "She has psychological trauma." "Michael, don't say anything." Julia moved closer to him and put her finger to his lips. "I told you, I know everything." Michael's apartment was spacious and bright. When he opened the door and led Julia inside, Kelly's nanny, Sarah, came to meet him. The woman had been by the baby's side since birth and helped Michael's wife with household chores whenever possible. "Good evening, Sarah," the man said. "How are you? How's Kelly?" "She's fine. She's in her room." The woman looked at Julia with a long, curious stare. She didn't like Michael's new friend right away. Too young and too pretty. "Come on, I will introduce you to my daughter," Michael said, taking Julia's hand, and they entered the nursery. 5-year-old Kelly was sitting in the chair by the window. She was holding a stuffed care, and on the table was an open sketchbook with an unfinished drawing. "What's up, little girl? Look how I brought," Michael asked. "Hi, I'm Julia," the girl said, sitting across from Kelly. "I want to be friends with you." The girl looked indifferently at Julia, not letting the toy out of her hands. "You know, when I was a little girl like you, I loved to feed the dogs at the pond. I had thrown them pieces of the bone, and they'd die after them. So funny. All they'd see was their tails sticking out of the water." Kelly listened, tilting her head as if she wanted to ask something. Julia took the girl's hand and stroked her little fingers. "Do you want to go and feed the ducklings together? It's been so long since I've done that." The girl nodded her head, didn't smile. "It's a deal. So I owe you a bun, and you owe me a good mood. Ducks fill the people with evil thoughts, come to the pond and immediately swim away. Do you understand me?" Kelly nodded again. Julia stroked her hair and walked over to Michael. "Will you be okay with Kelly and I having a little picnic on the pond?" "I'll be delighted, Julia." Michael was delighted at how easily his lover had gotten along with the little girl. It even seemed to him that at one point, Kelly was ready to talk. The following weekend, Michael stopped by to pick up Julia. Kelly, who had volunteered to sit in the car for the first time since the accident, was sitting in the back seat. This change in the girl's behavior surprised and pleased her father. "Isn't she afraid anymore?" he thought as he watched Kelly enter the car seat alone, without coaxing or cajoling. Julia came out of the house with a small basket in her hands. "Hello, Kelly," she said to the girl, and she got into the car. Michael's daughter watched her father's friend in silence. Still, as if nothing had happened, Julia opened the basket and took out a kitten. This is for you. She placed the furry pad on Kelly's lap. Do you like it? The girl was silent. You know, I found him in the driveway. He was squeaking so beautifully, very hungry and unhappy. Some cruel people had thrown the baby out of the house. Kelly stroked the kitten and looked at Julia, as if she wanted to ask something. I realize you have never had a pet before, but he needs your help. Look at him. He's small and miserable. Say, can you help him, Kelly? The girl nodded. That's great. I hope you two will be friends. Julia smiled. They spent a lovely afternoon on the shore of the pond. Kelly enjoyed feeding the dogs and throwing them bones. Michael and Julia had a picnic with fruit and sandwiches. You're amazing. Looking into the eyes of his beloved, the man said, I will never have thought of giving my daughter a kitten. And the idea of going to the pond is just magical. Look at how enthusiastic she is. She seems to enjoy feeding the dogs bread. Michael, I'm sure you take lovely care of Kelly, but she needs something different. Julia said calmly. What is it? Michael asked. He thought he was doing everything he could to get Kelly's back to being a fun, mischievous chatterbox who ran around the house, laughing contagiously. She needs to be socialized as an equal. She needs to care for someone alone, not to feel like a doll everyone plays with. I love you, Julia, Michael said, taking her hand. You know, didn't think that after the death of my wife, I will be able to say those words to someone. But you, I can't go a day without you. I want you to be my wife and always be there for me. But don't answer now. Don't hurry. Think. And realize I'm too old for you. Why not? I can answer you right here. I agreed to live with you, to take care of you and Kelly, to be a good and faithful wife to you. Julia said and passionately kissed Michael. They did not part that evening. After putting his daughter to bed, Michael rushed to the bathroom, where Julia awaited him. All day he painted from the desire to be alone with her. She excitedly beckoned the man with her slender body, from the touch of which Michael lost his head. A month later, they were married, planning a modest wedding to which only close friends and some of Michael's partners were invited. Etiquette demanded it. Having settled in Michael's apartment, Julia behaved like a full-fledged hostess. Her husband liked how she redecorates his house, tended the kitchen on weekends, and interacted with Kelly. The only thing that overshadowed the man's happiness was his frequent business trip departures. But business demanded. I'm so afraid that one day, when I come back from a trip, I won't find you at home, and your things won't be in the closet, he told Julia. But that wasn't what he was terrified of. Michael kept imagining his seductive wife with other men. It was an obsession that the man could not get rid of. That afternoon, he was already at the airport with Sarah, his daughter Kelly's nanny. She had to come take the girl for a walk but did not find the girl in the nursery. The bedroom was locked. Loud noises were coming from inside. Michael, yesterday a man came to your wife's bedroom and they stayed for a long time, closing the door behind them. And today your wife locked herself in the room with the baby and won't open the door. I don't know what they are doing here, but from behind the door came terrible sounds. Some moaning, sobbing, and even rumbling. What I'm going to do? I'm on my way, Sarah. The man, excited by the nanny's message, told her. I will deal with it when I get there. Go home. Okay, but I will worry about Kelly, the nanny replied. I said go home. Michael raised his voice at her, annoyed. During the airplane ride, he kept glancing at his watch. How slowly time was passing. Michael tried to sleep, but his traitorous imagination drew pictures of what was happening in their marital bedroom as he closed his eyes. Julia moaned, wriggling in the arms of a young man with a muscular torso and powerful biceps. It was unbearable. A driver was waiting for Michael in the parking lot across from the airport building. Let's go home, quickly, the man told him as he got into the car. As far as he can. When the car stopped in front of Michael's house, he didn't even give any orders to the driver. hurrying to open his apartment door. One more minute, and he would expose his unfaithful wife, catch her in the act of cheating, and catch her at her hottest. What treachery, driving lovers to their apartment. His apartment. Julie isn't even embarrassed by Kelly. Of course, she's sure that girl can't tell her father anything. Entering the apartment, the man heard strange sounds coming from the bedroom. Someone was moaning or crying. Trying not to make any noise, he went to the door and pushed it open. Julia, open the door right now. I know you're not alone in there. Open up, or I will kick the door down, Michael shouted. Michael's face was red with anger. He clenched his fists, hitting the door again and again. Suddenly, the strange sounds stopped. Finally, the door opened. In front of him stood his wife in a short house robe, pushing her away. Michael burst into the bedroom. There was no one on the neatly made bed. Where's your lover? Bellowed the husband. Where did you hide him? Julia looked at him fearfully. That look confirmed her guilt and made Michael's anger even more intense. He knelt, looking under the bed, empty. Then he went to the window and pulled back the curtains. There was no one behind either. Oh, I get it. You're hiding in the closet, Michael shouted. He froze briefly in front of the closet door and looked at Julia. I trusted and loved you so much, and you're bringing lovers into our house. You slut. Michael, I have to tell you everything. Julia tried to explain herself to her husband. You will, but first, I want to see who you're fucking in our marital bed while I'm making money. The man yanked the door open, then froze in bewilderment. Kelly was sitting in the closet, staring at her father with all eyes. Daughter, what are you doing here? Michael asked, but remembering that he couldn't expect an answer from his daughter, he turned to Julia. Why did you lock my daughter in the closet, you witch? I wanted to explain everything to you, but you won't even let me say a word, Julia exclaimed. Okay, I'm listening to you. Her husband looked at her with a demanding, expectant gaze. I probably had no right to do this, but I wanted to help Kelly and you be happier. So I went to a psychoanalyst. Julia lowered her eyes, afraid to look at Michael. A shrink? Why? Kelly and I have been to many therapists, and I told you about it. I thought this time will be different. I'm sorry. And what did the psychologist say to you? He advised to create for Kelly the same situation that traumatized her. The woman explained hastily. That is, lock her in a small space and create a noise effect, like a car accident, as if she were back in that car. You're crazy, Julia. You can't do that to a child. Kelly has barely gotten over the horror for the accident, and you're reminding her of it again. Michael was outraged. The man paced the room nervously. He did not expect his brilliant, educated wife to come up with such a thing. And where is the result? Did your bullying help Kelly? Huh? He asked in his night tone. No, Julie sighed. Tears of hurt and disappointment welled up in her eyes. I'm sorry. Please, I didn't mean to do anything wrong. Julia walked over to the closet and put a hand on Kelly's arm, helping her out. Come here, baby girl, she said, pulling the girl close. Julia sobbed and wiped away a tear that rolled down her cheek. Don't cry, she heard a whisper. The girl froze, looking at Kelly. It was incredible. It seemed to her that the girl whispered words of comfort in her ear. Kelly? Was it just me, or did you say something? Julia said, looking in the girl's eyes. Let's go to the dog pound and take the kitten with us, she said. Michael, did you hear that? She says she wants to go to the dog pond. Julia shouted happily. Yes, I didn't believe my ears at first, but she said it. He grabbed his daughter in his arms and whirled her around the room. Say something else, Kelly, please, please, please say something. Michael wanted his daughter to talk non-stop, and he wouldn't even interrupt or stop her. And Kelly smiled and said, I love you, Daddy, and you, Julia. That day, They made an actual holiday for their daughter, walking on the pond, going on rides, and asking Kelly to say something all the time. Her voice sounded to Michael like the sound of a springbok, and Julia was glad she could help the girl.